Raghubi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana 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 Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki.
Our regular attendance together?
Oh, sorry.
Our regular
Attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality of Godhead is praised with transcendental songs established as an irrevocable path.
Good morning. So today we're covering texts from 16 to 27, focusing on number 26, and looking at Christian's reciprocation with the assembly, the persons who have assembled to greet him as he returns to Dwarka. So I thought we would look at a couple of things first, because the classes previously on Monday and Tuesday were excellent. And one of the things from the class on Monday was looking at the underlying, what would you say? Not say qualifications, but somewhat the qualifications, with the idea of appreciating what is taking place in terms of these persons having the opportunity to grow and greet the Lord. And then yesterday, there was a class. Well, first I should be asking you what was the class about, see if you actually remember. What were some of the points from the class on yesterday? Yes. And please tell me your name. I don't know everyone's name here, or hardly anyone's name. So.
Hare Krishna, my name is Gayatri.
Gayatri, Hare Krishna.
We talked about Dwarka as an ideal civilization. And we talked about how the destruction of the environment and other issues that are going on is because of the impersonalistic nature that is fostered by a lack of proper consciousness within human beings.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Beautiful description of Dwarka. What were some of the things that were pointed out in terms of that description? Description of Dwarka. Yes.
There was water breeding lotus flowers all over. There were nice ponds with lotus flowers in them. That's what struck me.
Very picturesque. Yes, they were. Gopi was mentioning that it was, just in terms of the vision, or maybe it was his wife. I forget. Someone mentioned it. What does that remind you of? That's something else that we've recently read in terms of a description. Where did Krishna just come from? Yeah. And what was some of the things that were described there before that relate to this?
Similar, they were beauty with the flowers.
Yeah, it was describing the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira and how it was a similar description. And in fact, if you go through the Mahabharata, you'll find these descriptions of various kingdoms in terms of how they look, and you'll start to see a theme. Oh, this is actually very nice. Oh, this place is very nice. Yeah, in other words, it wasn't a singular occurrence that was the situation. As the Pandavas in their travels, of course, this is not in that particular section right now, but later, prior to in their travels, you hear so many very amazing descriptions of places in different kingdoms, etc. So that's there. So so Dwarka, city of God. So this is one way for us, because this was from the Monday class. In order to, and I use that term city of God with the idea of bringing a certain appreciation of the subject matter, because there is and this was touched on, without that understanding, there's the tendency to take things superficially. So, Dwarka, city of God. So, not just ideal in someone's imagination, but we're getting an opportunity to see, what does God's city look like? What would city, God comes. We say that, right? We say that God comes. And persons often ask this question. So if everyone did this Hare Krishna thing, what would it look like? At least they used to ask that. I don't know. Do they still ask these questions? I don't know. My questions may be dated from my experience. Yeah, well, so if everyone did this, okay, Hare Krishna, what would it look like? So someone could say, then it would look like the city of God. Would that be a reasonable response? Yeah. Okay, so with that understanding, we can read. So we'll go through and read, and as generally done, back and forth, and then we'll, and there will be some places where I'll stop and comment on some things.
On hearing that a most dear Krishna was approaching Dwarka Dham, magnanimous Vasudeva, Krura-Krasena Balaram, the superhumanly powerful Pradyumna, Charudeshna, and Sambad, the sons of Jambavati, all extremely happy, abandoned resting, sitting, and dining.
Oh, just one other thing to point out. You can go to the next verse, but Krishna was not the king of Dwarka. Who was the king?
Balaram was in charge, he was the mayor.
Okay, but who was actually the king? Ugrasena. Yes. But they were, of course, prominent personalities. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, continue.
This one we're on? Oh, okay. They hastened towards the Lord on chariots with brahmanas bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and bugles were sounded, and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection.
At the same time, many hundreds of well-known prostitutes began to proceed on various vehicles. We were all very eager to meet the Lord, and the beautiful faces were decorated with dazzling earrings, which enhanced the beauty of their foreheads.
Okay, this verse, I actually included this verse in an offering to Srila Prabhupada, I think 2 years back, or 3 years back now, my memory, 2 or 3 years back. What stands out about this verse? Okay, anything else?
They're driving.
Yeah, vehicles.
Their vehicles? Okay. The guys like vehicles, okay. What else? It's descriptive. It's very descriptive. What else? Anything else?
Dwara, like they belonged to, they were all eager to see the Lord. Like they all like loved Krishna.
If you go through and read this entire chapter, there's a certain, I'll just say, meter or cadence in terms of the descriptions, and et cetera, et cetera. There are a couple of groups that get their own verse. Usually it's this and these and then this, and this and the these and then that, et cetera. Here, they get their own verse. So it's a descriptive verse. I mean, it's, as we were just reading about Dwarka. So let's see here: beautiful faces, dazzling earrings, foreheads, etc. So this is being spoken by who's speaking? Huh? Sutta. Yeah, at the beginning of the chapter, it mentions that a Sutta Goswami. So, great saintly person, Sutta Goswami, why would he give them their own verse? Or another way to look at it, I'm watching my time, is that the verse could have been written in a number of different ways. Let's unpack that. It could have been said that there were also prostitutes included, and then just continuing on, etc. They could have been lumped in with another group, etc. But they weren't. They were there, and then as we go on, we'll see. Maybe just for comparison, go up a few verses. I think it's the, just go, keep going. There. When Lord Krishna passed over the public roads, all the ladies from the respectable families of Dwarka went up to the roofs of their palaces just to have a look at the Lord. No description at all. So go back to that verse. Yes.
Is it to highlight the importance of the relationship between them and the Lord?
Okay. Very good. Any other thoughts? Just in general, yes. Yes, and Prabhupada talks about that in the purport. And in a general way, when an author, just like a painter or something like this, they do certain things, certain techniques to draw your attention to certain things. So this person's presenting this, speaking this, is drawing our attention to particular by using certain qualifiers. You know, in other words, it's like in painting, you highlight certain things to make you, when you look at a painting, you can see who is the central figure, etc., by putting them in the center. So similarly, when someone is doing something literary, they use these words, various adjectives, and to illustrate and to kind of paint with words. It's kind of the same idea. Now, this is, looking at the time, I do want to unpack this a little bit because what I'm attempting to do is look at the ways that the Lord has reciprocated. And first, for that to appreciate it, we have to look at how does the Lord reciprocate? So this would be a good place to kind of introduce that. First of all, the Lord has given us this entire material world. You have some desire. I give you this entire domain. Here, enjoy it, etc. And this is how we end up here in the material world. But there's various living entities here in the material world. I happened to see this video, and it was talking about the types of little creatures that we all, as human beings, have living in the pores of our skin. There's just all these things, and you can't get rid of them. It was so weird. They said, yeah, you can wash your face until your face bleeds, but they'll still be there, etc. So we're not, so there's various living entities. So the Lord, though, still, what is it? The verse where he maintains all, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vididati Kaman. He's maintaining all these various living entities, the little things on your face, all the way to the Lord Brahma. He's maintaining all of them. So that is also another reciprocation of the Lord. So he's giving you a place. You want to be away from him. So he's giving you a place. Go, here's your place. And you think, well, if I go there, I don't have any money or a way to maintain myself. No, here, I'll supply everything when you go, etc. So that's the reciprocation that the Lord has. So that's one level. Now, when all, and we get the understanding of the 8,400,000 species of life that we cycle through, and the Lord is maintaining us in all of those positions, all those forms of life. Then we come to the human form of life, and the Lord reciprocates and also, just one other point, even the other species of life, the Lord also incarnates in these various species of life, not just in the human form, but also other species of life, flies and worms and birds, etc. The Lord appears. You were thinking of the verse?
I was thinking about the Bhagavad Gita verse where there's Krishna, there's Arjuna, the supreme archer,
Yes.
the opulence, victory, loud, I'm loud.
Yes.
That was early on.
Yeah.
In regards to Yudhishthir and all the beautiful places where people are, either Krishna is present or people are Krishna conscious.
Yes.
These things will manifest.
Yes. Okay. So then, coming forward from there, in the human form of life, there's a level that comes. Srila Prabhupada mentions that most human forms are not civilized. So still, the Lord maintains them. And then, when one comes to the civilized standard of human life, what is the distinction between uncivilized and civilized? That's the question. Who can answer that? Who has some? Yes. Yes, Prabhupada mentions this repeatedly, that the organization of human life, according to Varna and Ashram, is the beginning of civilized human life. They're in the area of, I guess, anthropology, etc. They have different standards that they try to use in the development of language, a legal system, in terms of justice. What are some of the other things that they generally use? Language is one I don't know. Of course, use of fire and use of tools. They often look at that, like when they're attempting to dig up things, if they see refined tools, etc. What else?
Like recreation, like paintings and other things.
Yes, arts. The arts. Also agriculture, that rather, the distinction between hunters and gatherers and persons who are civilized enough to settle, have permanent residence, and cultivate the land, etc. So all of these, and those are all very superficial, important. These are important items, but the Vedas, of course, have a different standard. It requires the separation of according to Varna and Ashram as a standard in life. So here we have this, so we're trying to look at what is underlying. So that is one level. And then from there, the Lord also reciprocates what is another, say, one has got the human form of life, one is organized by Varnashram. What would be another level up in terms of reciprocation from the Lord?
Reciprocation in what way?
I'm just trying to ask this not to give it away, but Erupe, Brahmanya Brahmite Kom Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Pashaya Paya Bhakti Lata Beach. That when one becomes inquisitive about why am I here? Okay, so the Lord is supplying all these things, etc. And then when one becomes interested to know why am I here? What is the purpose of life, etc. Then Krishna reciprocates again by giving one a chance to contact the spiritual master. So these are various levels. So what I'm attempting to do is to help us appreciate this position of the personalities that are going to be that are there greeting the Lord. So that's kind of a little background. So let's look at this just a little bit to appreciate another point, particularly about Varnashram. But so first we're gonna do a little. I need your help with something. So we're going to try to take words and turn them into numbers. Okay. So what is a couple? What number is a couple? 2. Okay. What is a few?
3 or more.
3 or more? So 3. Someone said 4. Any others? Okay. How many is several? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 7. So then how many is many? 10 or more. Okay. Any other entries? 12? 10, so 10 to 12.
15.
15.
20 or more.
20 or more? Okay. So 20 or more hundreds of, so anyway, somewhere in there. So we're relating it to the verse. This is instead of an adjective, this is adverb in terms of numbers. So 20 or more hundreds. So what does that mean? That's 2,000 or more. Of well-known prostitutes began to proceed on various vehicles. They were all very eager to meet the Lord. Okay, so 2,000. Now, another verse from Bhagavad Gita. Now, it's describing a particular occupation. It doesn't say that all of them went to see the Lord. It says many hundreds. So out of all the prostitutes, how many would you think would be eager to see the Lord? What percentage? Do you understand the question? Yes, in other words, there's a totality, and then there's a percentage. It doesn't say that all of them went to see the Lord, but many hundreds, and we've come to some rough estimate of that. So how many is the total amount?
10%.
12%? 10%? 95%? Okay, this is a big spread here. So 10. Yes. Okay. So what is the verse from Bhagavad Gita? So go ahead.
Manushanam sahasreshu kaschidati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kashin mam veti tattvada. Like out of like millions or maybe thousands of men, one attains perfection. At all the people who attain perfection, maybe one like very few. Or where is the one who attains, like understands me in essence or truth?
Okay. So once again, so that's very good. So what percentage? So I'm asking again, based on this verse. 10%. So the point is, we're not looking at a small number. And once again, we're talking about the city of God. How do we reconcile those things? What's some thoughts? What does Prabhupada talk about in the purport? It's a very interesting purport. I'm just looking, I want to make sure that we do get to the verse there. But I'll explain. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks, you have something, Prabhupada? Yeah. Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't see, thank you.
It says in there somewhere, probably in the purports, that prostitutes are necessary in society to keep chastity of other men's wives and young women.
Correct. So he talks, Srila Prabhupada in the purport talks about the subject of social engineering, social design. That's the point. And he's talking, the concern or that Srila Prabhupada talks about is how to maintain a certain standard within human society. And so he gives an example also, just like, and he uses a current example that persons are aware of, that the government doesn't want to encourage consumption of alcohol, but they license certain places because persons will, if you don't, just like in America and most other places, as soon as there's a prohibition, there's a black market that immediately comes up to supply persons with these items. And so rather than have that black market and all the things that go on, they have state licensed places where things are regulated. Where else has this same concern or similar concern shown up? Where else do we see the similar concern or social design, social engineering, that consideration come up? I'm trying to ask without giving it away. Yes, Gayatri?
Human trafficking?
Yes, but within the Vedic literature, that's certainly one example. Yes. Arjuna, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he was talking about this very point in terms of what will be the result of this battle in terms of the social circumstance. The Kshatriyas are the social engineers within Vedic society. They're utilizing their wealth, their influence, their power to direct society based on the knowledge that they gather from scripture, from Shastra, and also from the sages. And there's a direct correlation between the diversity, this is a buzzword nowadays, that in terms of diversity that you can find within a society and the strength of the leadership. Go back to text number, I think it's 10, and it describes it describes those persons who are as strong as Lord Krishna. It's a very interesting verse. Oh yes, this verse, 11. As Bhagavati, the capital of Naga Loka, is protected by the Naga, so is Dwarka protected by the descendants of Vrishni, Boga, Boja, Madhu, etc. So here's another verse which they get their own verse. And it mentions that they were as strong as Lord Krishna. What are the opulences of the Lord? There are 6 of them. Sadhisvarya, so we have 1, beauty, renunciation,
Strength.
knowledge, back row, yes, fame, wealth, yes, thank you. So here it mentions that, and Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, as he said, as strong as Lord Krishna. So he explains that as Krishna manifested his strength in this material world, that these persons were as strong as that, as Krishna manifested. Of course, no one can equal the Lord, but as far as he manifested. And so lifting Govardhan heel, etc. So these persons were also present. So this addresses a concern many persons I hear because of my interest in the areas of Varnashram. Oftentimes persons have a misunderstanding that a Kshatriya king is the only powerful person, and then the concern about exploitation, etc. These are persons as strong as Lord Krishna. Krishna was living in Dwarka. Balaram was living in Dwarka. Neither one of them were kings. And then you had the presence of other powerful personalities. So there's always these personalities who are there who are capable of assisting and correcting if leadership goes astray. But anyway, I thought that was, so that's the connection. You can have a lot of diversity when you have strong leadership. And conversely, when the leadership is not strong, it has to be more of a monoculture in order for things to remain stable. Therefore, you find like in a Brahmana's ashram, it will be fairly one type of activity, one type of persons, etc. Because their ability to manage more than that is not very strong. Brahmanas are not known as managers. Yeah. Okay. What else? So go back to that verse, and I think we'll just continue on. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is necessary for the upkeep of human society. Administered by the Kshatriyas. This question came up yesterday. I forget who asked the question about development, say, within ISKCON in terms of farm projects, etc. And it kind of relates to that in terms of with any project, you need of that nature. You need a diversity of persons. If you take Brahmanas and put them on a farm, a lot of the necessary things that need to get done will not happen because Brahmanas are not inclined towards those types of activities. It's just a very common, it's just, you have to match things, etc. So it requires diversity, and diversity requires strong leadership. Okay, so let's continue with the reading, and then we'll get to verse 26 and look at that. Any questions or comments from anything we've covered so far? Anywhere? Everyone's good? Okay. So I forget who was reading now.
Expert dramatists, artists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, and learned speakers all gave their respective contributions, being inspired by the superhuman pastimes of the Lord. Thus they proceeded on and on.
Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, approached them and offered due honor and respect to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and all others who came to receive and welcome him.
The Almighty Lord greeted everyone present by bowing his head, exchanging greetings, embracing, shaking hands, looking and smiling, giving assurances and awarding benedictions even to the lowest in rank.
Then the Lord personally entered the city, accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas with their wives, all offering benedictions and singing the glories of the Lord. Others also praised the glories of the Lord.
So go back to that. So they were offering benedictions. And of course, this has come up in a number of times. These, the Brahman is offering benedictions as they're singing the glories of the Lord. And the description is like offering of a lamp to the sun. And Prabhupada explains in the course of worship, there's the necessary of offering a lamp. But offering it to the sun is the source of all luminous potential and potency within the material world. So there's no benefit to the sun, of course. So persons offering benedictions to the Lord, but this is a natural outcome of their affection for the Lord, that they offer benedictions. Okay, go ahead.
Then when Lord Krishna passed over the public roads, all the ladies from the respectable families of Dwarka went up to the roofs of their palaces just to have a look at the Lord. They considered this to be the greatest festival.
The inhabitants of Dwarka were regularly accustomed to look upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satiated.
The Lord's chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. His moon-like face is the drinking vessel for eyes which hanker after all that is beautiful. His arms are the resting places for the administrative demigods, and his lotus feet are the refuge of pure devotees who never talk or sing of any subject except his lordship.
As the Lord passed along the public road of Dwarka, his head was protected from the sunshine by a white umbrella. White feathered fans moved in semicircles, and showers of flowers fell upon the road. His yellow garments and garlands of flowers made it appear as if a dark cloud was surrounded simultaneously by sun, moon, lightning, and rainbows.
Wow. Such a description. Sun, moon. Oh, just the other day we were at the coast and the clouds were there for a while, and then the sun came out, and I looked up, and part of the sun was covered, and I was like, "Oh no, what is going on?" I thought, "Am I losing my mind? That's not normal," etc. So there was an eclipse recently. on past Saturday, and I didn't know about it, and I was just freaked out momentarily. But here, this description is very wonderful. The sun, the moon, lightning, and rainbows, all in the sky at the same time. Imagine such a scene. So let's go to the verse, and we can read the. Let's see how we do here. Shriyo nivaso yashyora. Panapatra mukham drisham. Ahavo lokapalanam. Saranganam padam bhujam. Please chant.
Shriyo nivaso yashoraha. Anapatram mukham drisha. Ahavolokapalana. Saranganam padambujam. Shriyo nivaso yashoraha.
Translation together. The Lord's chest is the bow of the goddess of fortune. His moon-like face is the drinking vessel for eyes which anger after all that is beautiful. His arms are resting places for the administrative demigods, and his lotus feet are a refuge of pure devotees who never talk or sing on any subject except his lordship. So purport. So someone can read?
There are different classes of human beings, all seeking different enjoyments from different objects. There are persons who are seeking after the favor of the goddess of fortune, and for them, the Vedic literatures give information that the Lord is always served with all reverence by thousands and thousands of goddesses of fortune at the Chindamani Dham, the transcendental abode of the Lord, where the trees are all desire trees and the buildings are made of touchstone. The Lord Govinda is engaged there in herding the Surabhi cows as his natural occupation. These goddesses of fortune can be seen automatically if we are attracted by the bodily features of the Lord. The impersonalists cannot observe such goddesses of fortune because of their dry, speculative habit, and those who are artists, overtaken by the beautiful creation, should better see to the beautiful face of the Lord for complete satisfaction. The face of the Lord is the embodiment of beauty. What they call beautiful nature is but his smile, and what they call the sweet songs of the birds are but specimens of the whispering voice of the Lord.
Okay, let's stop there. So we spent a little time looking at the descriptions of the many, what do we come to? I forget, 2,000 or more, something like this. Beautiful faces of the prostitutes in Dwarka. And here we get a view of the beautiful face of the Lord. So we've talked about how, this being part of this city of God, and also this is there. This opportunity to see the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the challenge for devotees in the spreading of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is that all persons will not be attracted to this. And that is there, obvious by the statement of that verse that we looked at. It mentioned that these prostitutes were, what's the word? They were well known. But there's also the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his face and the embodiment of beauty. So we've gotten the beauty of the description of the beauty there that was included in that verse, and we're getting now a glimpse of the beauty of the Lord. Both of those things exist within Vedic culture, and it has to be organized in a manner that everyone makes spiritual advancement. That is the idea. So that is a big challenge, and particularly most of you are younger. When Srila Prabhupada gave us the mandate in terms of establishing a society, a culture, wherein all of these classes of persons, those persons who were well known to the prostitutes, and those persons who would look at the smiling face of the Lord, how all of those are organized to make advancement. If there is to be an age of going back home, back to Godhead for the mass of people, the golden age of Lord Chaitanya, this is one of the challenges to be done. And particularly, I think sometimes there might be a view that everything to be done as far as the spreading of Krishna consciousness and the framework, in terms of the building out of this ISKCON movement, that all of that has been done. And I want to impress upon all of you here that there is the best really is yet to come. The best is yet to come, because there are significant parts of the mandate given by Srila Prabhupada that we're still just trying to get a basic understanding of. And it will be your responsibility, if you decide to accept the mission, to fill these parts in. And I'm attempting to give you a glimpse into some of these features and some of the challenges will be. So this is what's being described here as in these verses describing the city of God. We're getting a chance to get a glimpse into some of the diversity that's there. And we'll need to look at how to do the same to move Krishna consciousness forward. Srila Prabhupada in many places mentioned that not everyone will be Brahmanas. He created this society, ISKCON, with the Brahminical aim, that persons will get Brahminical training, etc. And that's going on and improving as we go along. But in of itself, it's not sufficient for the mass of people. The mass of people will not be Brahmanas, etc. Srila Prabhupada acknowledged that. And he also acknowledged that if we want to influence the mass of society, then there's the system for doing that, and that is Varnashram. So very, very important distinction. So it's interesting, the description of that verse and then the description of the Lord. So this is there, and we're trying to influence everyone to look in this direction, but we know also that not everyone will. So how to organize, that is the challenge. You have a question? Oh, no, I thought you were reaching for the microphone. Any questions thus far? Questions, comments? Yes, go Paul.
I think it was Saturday's quote in this little book over here. Prabhupada says, I've given the ideas, now you give the shape.
Yes, you give the shape, yes. Okay, someone else can pick up from where we were in the purport. There are administrative demigods.
There are administrative demigods in charge of departmental service of cosmic management, and there are tiny administrative gods in the state service. They are always afraid of other competitors, but if they take shelter at the arms of the Lord can protect them always from the attacks of enemies. A faithful servant of the Lord engaged in the service of administration is the ideal executive head and can well protect the interests of the people in general. Other so-called administrators are symbols of anachronism, leading to the acute distress of the people who are governed by them. The administrators can remain safely under the protection of the arms of the Lord.
So what is a verse that, a very important verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam describing the protection of the Lord for the administrative, as it's mentioned here, the administrative demigods. Is one of the verses. I know you covered it because I remember the class, I remember hearing it. It describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Okay, that's the one.
I think there was one which is called Deva Deva Mahadeva, something like that. Like he's the Lord of the demigods. When Uttara was rendering her prayer to Krishna, so she said something like that, which referred to Krishna as the master of the demigods. So
that's one also. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that one. I was thinking Ete Kansa Kalapung Sang, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari, Indra, the king of heaven. So he's a devotee, he's an administrative demigod. And Krishna, Indra Ari, the enemies of Indra, Krishna appears to defeat these persons, the enemies of Indra. So this is that's the one I was thinking of. Okay, reading on.
The essence of everything is the Supreme Lord. He's called the Saram, and those who sing and talk about him are called the Sarangas, or the pure devotees. The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord. The lotus has a kind of honey which is transcendently relished by the devotees. They are like the bees who are always after the honey. Srila Rupa Goswami, the great devotee Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. O my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it is after some honey. Kindly therefore give my bee mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Brahma do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they are engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service of your lotus feet, but because your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet can deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please therefore, let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service.
Such a wonderful prayer.
Devotees are satisfied with being placed at the lotus feet of the Lord and have no ambition to see his all-beautiful face or aspire for the protection of the strong arms of the Lord. They're humble by nature, and the Lord is always leaning towards such humble devotees.
Thank you so much. Which clock is right, actually? Okay. Any last questions? Any comments? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
devotees have no ambition to see his all beautiful face. Could seem like you have a desire to see Krishna's beauties, but it's saying otherwise. But then I remember quote by Prabhupada that we should serve Krishna so that he's interested in seeing us. We shouldn't be overly curious to see him. And the last statement also lists that the Lord is always leaning towards such humble devotees. Like we just engage in Krishna's service, and he would naturally come to us.
Yes, and that was touched upon, and it was one of the things I was attempting to touch on today is having the proper underpinnings for all of these things in terms of reciprocation with the Lord. And because the tendency without those will be suspect, or as it was mentioned in class on Monday, sahaja, without these, without proper foundation. And exactly as you mentioned, acting in such a way. But that acting is a very, can take on a very broad, it can be very broad in terms of what that means. Yes?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your class. And I hope there will be many, many more. Along those lines, what Nita was saying, ironically, when we talk about darshan, going to see the Lord, what it actually refers to is to be seen. Because what eyes can, these eyes, what they can see anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But presenting ourselves to the Lord is what really is taking place with the darshan. And in order to present ourselves like we're bringing something, we're bringing our consciousness. So yeah, always acting, and don't try to see, but act in a way that the Krishna wants to see you at all times, and that's what you're going to bring for the darshan. And another thing is that, very interestingly, now coming to month of Kartik, we have an example of Maria Yashoda, who is about to breastfeed baby Krishna, but the milk is about to boil. So it's very interesting. She has Krishna's face right there. She is serving him in a most personal and most intimate way of her breast milk. Yet she's putting him down to attend to her service because the milk is about to boil. So again, for me, it's like an ultimate illustration of how being situated at the lotus feet of Krishna, which represents devotional service, that it's prioritized. There's many aspects of devotional service, but there's priorities. As she attends to those, that is way more valuable, and she exemplifies that than being in a direct association with Krishna in the most intimate ways.
Yeah, I know it's time.
Oh, we're just waiting for breakfast. It's coming here, right? Or okay.
Oh, okay. So we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yakyasishta sinasanto muchyante